All right, so let's get rock and rolling. I know people will continue to join us here as they jump on. Stephanie, I'm super
You're
excited to
good.
be able to have you tell us about how to use or build with developers. I'm kind of curious to know, like in some states, the developers that build are the big companies like D.R. Horton and Lennar
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then there's areas in some states where they're all small builders, right? Mom and pop
Yeah.
shop. And so what is your, like, who do you work with? You work with the big guys, the little guys, or everything?
Really, it's like the independent builders. So my name's Stephanie Bulcock. I run the #1 mid-sized team in the state of Kansas, and I work the Kansas City market. We're kind of unique. I'm licensed in both Kansas and Missouri. And like our metro is kind of like a 45-minute like radius, like from one side to the other. So we are very unique that like we work like a big geographic area because you can get around so easily. The kind of like what this looks like in Kansas City as far as builders, like we've had the big guys, like where it was dominated by the big builders of, D.R. Horton, Roush Coleman, Pulte. And then the wild thing is that they kind of got run out of town. And we're starting to see them kind of come back in a little bit. But Kansas City has like a rich culture of some really great local builders. And what our kind of like new build landscape looks like is, we're in Kansas, so we have a ton of land. And there has been some really rich opportunity here to kind of work with some of the smaller and mid-sized builders and take a look and, figure out like, how do you add value? What do you bring to the table? And we have a lot of local developers. And so I've been in real estate now for 9 years. I was an individual agent, kind of back at the beginning, doing, everything from, in Kansas City market, like $100,000 investment properties all the way up to like luxury. And what luxury is in our market is like 1 million. So very different from some of you guys in, more of like the coastal markets or the high dollar areas. Our average sales price today is still only like 400,000. I was doing a lot of just resale business and found that I had a lot of clients that were wanting to explore new homes. And so as part of that, I was doing a lot of touring different areas, checking out different builders. And because we have such great local builders, trying to explore as much as I could within their product array and seeing what that looked like. And I just started doing more and more like new construction deals where I was representing the buyers coming in through the new home process and working with a lot of different builders and seeing their processes. And somewhere along the line, I realized that one of my magical pieces in real estate was like I was loving working with new build buyers because I loved that process. And over time, like over the past 9 years, my business has just like grown significantly from working with new build clients. When I was an individual agent, I went from doing about like 60 deals a year. And now my goal is I always want to sell at least 100 houses a year. I've gone from a majority being resale to now a majority of my business is coming from new homes, both representing builders and buyers and developers.
Okay, real quick. I know that to you, selling 60 homes or 100 homes a year is like no biggie, but most people here, or where the average agent nationwide sells like 6 homes or 7 homes a
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
selling 10 times that amount is a pretty freaking big deal. And so,
Yeah.
like,
And
if
that's
you
just
don't
me. That's not
mind,
my team. So like my team does about 225 units a year.
yeah,
And like for me, like my pending and closed, like last year I did pending and closed. I only actually officially closed 88 units myself last year, but pending and closed, I came in with like a huge amount of pendings and had like 112 pending and closed that I kind of put through in 2023.
okay, so Stephanie, I don't know if you've got anything planned, but I really like, I'm a very curious individual, so I'm going to ask you lots
Yeah.
of questions.
Totally.
I'd like to guide this
Yeah.
masterclass today a little bit differently in the sense that like every single person that's in this room, virtual room, has they're in different markets and they might look at this differently. I want every single one of you that's here not to get checked out by things that are different in your area than hers, because the drunk monkey that's in your head is going to say, oh, well, I can never sell 80 homes or 100 homes a year. Or, oh, my average price point's 2.5 million, so it's not the same. I can't do that.
Mhm.
Or,
Yeah.
oh, well, we don't have new construction here. Or like, there's so many stories that we tell ourselves of why we can't. And here's a perfect example because, not to offend Stephanie, but if Stephanie can do it, then
Yeah.
you can too, right?
Well, and
Can we
here's
all
like,
agree to
so
that?
the fun thing is I started out as a part-time agent 9 years ago. I had a super corporate gig. I was a senior strategy consultant for a Fortune 500 firm. I started out doing real estate Tuesdays, nights, and weekends. My first year, I sold 12 homes for a total of like $2.6 million in volume. So it was like just a very like small, right? And then every year I've like been figuring out, like I set weird goals for myself. So like, trying to figure out when can I go full-time into real estate. So I did 2 gigs for 18 months before I felt comfortable with the dollars to like get out. So I've been full-time in real estate for 7.5 years. And now I'm running one of the top teams in the metro. So there's 13,000 realtors in Kansas City, and my team is ranked number 9 in the metro. And again, part of it's all about like, how do we scale? How do we grow? And kind of like what you were saying, it's like, how do we kind of take something that's like, unique and kind of like make a spin on it. So when in my market, when everyone was going left, I went right. So when everyone was like getting hyper focused on building their business in a certain way, I was like super particular about how I wanted to like grow my business. And like, I knew that I loved, like, I found a passion in my market, which for me was new homes. And I loved, like, from my corporate world, I loved the process of new homes and helping a buyer navigate that process. And I loved the challenge that every single builder had a very different process, and trying to like figure out like, how do I still guide, advise, and add value in a process where, and I don't know how builders don't love agents. Builders don't love paying agents a commission. We don't love being a line item on their cost budget sheet. And so I had to, I figured out through supporting my buyers. The interesting piece was, at a point in time, as I was helping my buyers, I realized that I was building relationships with builders. I was building relationships with the people running the sales offices. And
So let's get
yeah,
tactical a little bit. Okay. So first thing is I want you to address in a couple sentences how you feel like you have done a great job of building relationships with the sales reps that represent the development or the builder. So what would be like if you were to say, hey Nazar, these are the 3 things that everyone in this room can do to build relationships with them. What would those 3 things be?
yes. Like, so I actually treat them like they are one of my constituents. So sometimes I would drop off pop buys to them. I get referrals from people that sit in the sales office. Most of
Okay.
them aren't
So
allowed to touch resale.
yeah, tell me what a Popeye is and how often do you do it? How many
Yeah.
people do you do it to? Tell me, let's get a little more granular.
So treating them like they're a member of my COI. So if I'm going to do a pop buy, and what we might do, like for spring market, going to like a place and getting like a flower or a succulent or something like that, and having a cutesy saying that says like the spring market is in bloom, or treating them like, if I have a great co-op deal with them, there is this like awesome Amazon shop where you can buy these like little boxes that are shaped like a house. And I'll go to the cute little cookie shop and I will drop off some of these like cute little custom cookies and thank them for an awesome partnership. And I do that with the builders as well. So to thank them for like, if we have a closing, like I will drop off a closing present, not only to my client, but to the build team.
Okay. And then how often are you doing that?
So my actual builders are getting 6 times a year touches, like people that are actually working with me right now. My co-op agents that are members of the new build community are, and a builder that is not one of my actual builders, it's like a one time at the time of closing that they're getting that touch point. They get a little closing
So,
gift.
so if I was in this room and I don't work with a lot of builders, meaning that I don't represent a lot of buyer sales with them, which
Yeah.
is easier, right? Like it's so much easier to represent a buyer transaction when they're buying new construction than it is even in resale. Um, so if you're doing that and I want to establish those relationships, would you say I go there, what, every other month, once a month? How often are you going to that new builder to start that relationship with them?
I'm finding opportunities to meet them like naturally. So I got involved, like, so I joined the HBA, the Home Builders Association, right? Or I'm, connecting with them at like their own tours. Like if there's like a new home tour, like I will go to their event and I will like meet them, shake their hand, be like, hey, how are you? Make that connection of where we last touched base with them.
Yeah.
And then, and when it's representing my buyer, I attend the walkthroughs. They see me throughout the process.
Yeah.
And I respect their process because all too often agents come in and we're trying to add value. So we're coming in and we're saying, here's how this goes, but it might not be how it goes for them. So helping to make sure that I'm advocating for my buyer in their best behalf, but also coaching and educating them that, here's how this goes in new homes. And that is actually all the difference when like the builders then kind of recognize like, okay, this agent does know what she's talking about and she's doing things a little bit differently. So I have built a rapport with these builders and like the offices by treating them like they are a member of my COI. So they are on my pop buy drops, like they are getting some like not all, but they're getting some of like my touches. If I'm like mailing out cards, if I'll send them a thank you note, I'll drop off like little surprises at their office, whether it's like a collective candle, whether it's some cookies, whether it's like a little closing gift. Like they're seeing me in different ways. And that has been really helpful.
Would you drop off, Stephanie? Do you think it'd be helpful to drop off to them, like, what's going on in the resale market, like, comps or information that could, help them, arm them with education so that when they're talking to the buyers themselves, they could, like just anything that can give them more information so that they can,
A
seem
hundred
smart
percent.
or,
A hundred percent. So here's the deal. It's like tools and strategies, right? So it's information
Mhm.
is power. So like, let's talk like last year when rates started going up at a pretty significant like rate, I was dropping off information or emailing them over information on, I have certain lenders. I said, hey, what can you do for like my new build guys? And everyone, like these guys have like other tools in their toolkit too, but it was like, hey, what if I have a lender that for like our new build buyers, what if they're willing to do like a 0.5% lender paid closing cost credit for your sales? And it's like something free for them. And then also we were running numbers on 2-1 buy downs, 1-0 buy downs, like just being able to like arm and equip them with that information. It's been huge. Like that, having that was awesome. And then they also like sometimes they just need a guy. Like they all have these lenders. They all work with commercial lenders on their construction loans, but those aren't always the right people who work with the buyers in the field.
Another thing that I think it's interesting, if you were in a market, you guys, that is highly competitive, like new construction, like there's waiting lists and stuff like that is hard. But when things soften, or if you're in a market where that's not the case, doing open houses for their standing inventory is another great
Yes.
way to be able to build opportunity for you to be able to help them sell their inventory, but also create opportunities for yourself to connect with more agents, or not agents, with more buyers.
And again,
Um,
it's like this other piece of like, if you have a buyer show new construction, because like it tends to stay on the market a little bit longer. You've got like an opportunity, and they keep seeing. So like I had the opportunity to like keep selling. They know who is selling their stuff. And so like being able to kind of hone in on someone like these builders that I know, like, and trust, like I would have them build my own personal home. Like the more and more that they see you showing, the more and more that they see you selling their product, you're making them money. And so honestly, that is how I started building out this kind of like core capability in my business, was by actually just doing the work. I had buyers that were looking at new homes, and there were just certain builders that kept on resonating with my buyers, and I kept showing their stuff. And I would
Yeah.
circle back with them with questions for my buyers. They were seeing me on multiple deals, and then they're just, sometimes they need help, right? One of the builders was like, "Hi, I have a referral," and it was for a really great luxury home, and they didn't know who to go to. And so I'd given them several of my build buyers, and they were like, "Would you like to have this referral?" Why, yes, I would. I would love that. And so there's just this huge untapped market by connecting with the builders. And then if you're in a market with national sales, like national builders, a lot of times the people that are in the sales office aren't allowed to touch a resale. A lot of times, if they have a walk-in come in that is like interested about buying, they're interested in buying a home, and maybe this neighborhood isn't a fit, most times they're not able to pick up that buyer and take them into another opportunity. So it's just like adding value in ways, and then connecting with the people, like they need us. And if you're able
Mm.
to connect with them and make an impact on them and kind of love on them just like you do your normal database, that is a really great way to get some additional business.
I love it. So Stephanie, let's switch gears. Let's talk about how in the world are you advertising to find buyers that you
Mhm.
can sell them new construction? Is there anything you're doing differently to be able to market, advertise? How are you using social to be able to acknowledge to people that you are the go-to person in your area when they're looking to buy new construction?
Yeah, it's awesome. So social media has been huge. So if you guys take a look at my Insta, it's at Stephanie Bulcock. Um, I have like a lot of new construction on my feed, right? So it's showcasing that, right now I'm about 60% new construction, 40% resale. I'm getting buyers off of social media because they're coming in and they're wanting to work with someone who knows new homes, but then also can sell their home. So that's kind of like who I'm attracting, because you'll see my resale homes and then you'll see my new homes. So a lot of times we're doing, I am doing a lot of new home walkthroughs. So it's really easy where you can just, go in, take your phone, do some social clips. On my new home listings, I have everything photographed, videoed. So we're able to use a lot of those clips for like ongoing just marketing. So most everything is coming in through Instagram and Facebook on that. And it's been really well received in our market. Everyone kind of like, and it's almost to the point where everyone's like, "Do you still do resale?" And I'm like, yes, I do. So like, I kind of sometimes have to like scale it back a little bit, because so much of my social media presence is about promoting new homes and different builders. And sometimes the coolest thing is if they have a home that's sitting on the market, going to the builder and say, "Hey, would you be cool if I promote this on my social?" Being able to go in, do your video clip, and then pushing it out. And then if you want information, like linking to the listing, if you want to set up a showing, reach out to me. The builders eat this shit up, because guess what? Guess who doesn't love social media? Builders. They're awful at it. If they have it, it's pure vanilla. If like they have an agent marketing it, it's like the person who represents them, but they love all of that additional exposure, and they will never tell you no on, "Can I come in and can I do pics, vids? Can I push this out through a reel?" They absolutely love all of that additional exposure.
I love that. Any other tactical approach that you would say has given you, like what's been the best marketing you've done? I know that it's hard to be able to maybe pinpoint, but if you
Yeah.
were to say, what would be the type of video that I can make today if I go to some of these national builders that would give me the best, exposure? What would that be?
Yeah. So if you live in a particular market or a community, it could be like that local expert highlight reel. So if you live like, here are the top communities in Overland Park, Kansas, right? And then being able to do like a highlight reel of looking for a new home in Lenexa, Kansas, or just even just, so being able to do that and then link to the listing, link to the builder profile, that is probably that's one of the best pieces of content that you can create related to the new home piece. Tag that builder, because they'll, if they have a social media presence, they'll push that out on their social media as well. And then it's that web effect. And again, it's like that was a huge strategy for me that led to promoting multiple builders, because they're like, you're showing my stuff, you're selling my houses, and you're promoting me. I was doing a crap ton of legwork for like before I was actually representing the builder. So I was doing things to try to attract the buyer pool. But what I found out that was super interesting was then I started attracting the builder pool.
Hmm.
So that was the magical, like little subtlety of all of it. Like I was pushing this out, trying to attract new build buyers to come into my universe because I loved it and I loved that market segment. And then all of a sudden the builders said, oh my gosh, this girl does things different. And then it was, okay, well, I've built this I was one of the top individual agents across the metro. And then I started running one of the top teams across the metro. And they're just like, okay, like we do things different. So all of the magical pieces of our client experience that I was doing for my own personal clients, I started pulling the builders into that. And they came into my universe. They're starting to look at all of my stuff and they're saying, hey, would you be willing to do that for me? And I'm like, of course. And so I started, doing some additional promos for them, or kind of featuring some of their listings again, which was bringing me additional buyers, which started bringing them additional business. And then how it turned out is finally one of the builders that I had been kind of, showing a lot of their stuff, bringing them contracts, they said, hey, my current agent situation really isn't working out. Would you be interested in interviewing for the job? And I was like, of course I would. And that was one builder, one relationship that started. And now I have 3 developments where I am handling all, I have exclusive rights to the neighborhood where I'm representing 3 different developers, 3 different developments, and I have a total of 7 builders that I represent across the metro.
That's awesome.
And
Um,
this is all like over just the past few years.
yeah, the drunk monkey in most people's heads are, gosh, I don't know where to start.
Mhm.
And again, like when you say developers, you're actually talking about the builder. Most of the people, at least that I know, we're working with the national builders. They have their own lending arm. They have their own sales
Mhm.
force. So the relationships that we can build are with those sales agents, right? And just like you
100%.
said, those sales agents don't represent. And I love that idea. I never thought of the fact that if someone walks into their home or their model homes, they look at them and they
Mhm.
can't afford that house, or it's just
Yeah.
not the right fit for them. That sales agent says, "Okay, well, cool. Sorry, I have a good day," and that's the end of it. But if
A
we can teach
hundred
them a way to be able
percent.
to call
Yeah.
us and say, "Hey, Nazar, I talked to so and so or this particular buyer, and they're just not a good fit for our neighborhood. Like here's a referral for you. I don't know if we can pay them or not, or if we
You
can give them a
can.
referral fee. I don't know if
I
well,
mean,
we can give them a referral fee. I don't know if their boss, the builder might be happy about that or not. Because because they're a licensed agent, we could theoretically give them a
yeah.
referral fee. But even if it's just they're going to throw you that bone, they can't get anything about it. But you're going to get motivated to be able to bring more buyers to their neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and that's just that reciprocity that takes place. Um, but again, another junk monkey that I think that people would say is, I don't know how to do it, and and I don't know if I can. I don't have any buyers for that neighborhood. And if I advertise that specific listing, if I tag the builder or that tag the neighborhood, then someone's going to see my post, see the listing, and then go directly to the seller or go
Maybe, but
directly.
it's all like, and that's the risk that you take. But it was like the being able to post it, making sure that you say, like, obviously giving listing credit, like to keep it legal. But there's like a lot of agents in my market that are going after, like, so maybe it's the how I started, where it's you're going after new home buyers and it's dissecting the new home process in your area. It's showcasing, here's what you can, like, are you looking for a new build under whatever your market is, like 750, $1 million? Here's what you can buy. Here's the price breakdown. Here's what this costs. And then just being able to showcase it of, link to listing, giving listing credit, like have questions about buying new homes, want to schedule a tour, and then making sure that it's coming back to you. I think that it is a hugely underrated piece of an agent's business to be trying to attract new build buyers and trying to just think through that as like a core competency of, regardless, even if doesn't turn out to be anything, you could be getting some really great like B-roll for your social media. You could be getting some really great connections. You could be, and worst case scenario is you're getting some additional content showing like your activity in the area.
Imagine doing videos with the sales agent of the developer or the builder, right?
100%.
Like just doing a video saying, "Hey guys, I'm here with so and so, and we're going to showcase this particular floor plan or model that they have, and let's do a walkthrough with the builder and have the builder talk about the amazing amenities that the community or that specific home has, and say, hey, if you guys want more information, give me a call. I'd love to be able to make that connection." Those types of things. So I think that's fantastic.
And you don't
Stephanie, do you
have
have
to be
any
an
other?
expert, right? Like you get to like lean in on them and ask the right
Yeah,
questions. So,
yeah.
it's having the conversations with the builders, it's previewing new build communities and just getting out there. And like, if you don't know about it, like where do you start? You start by like going out and taking a look. In my area, we have what's called Parade of Homes, and that's getting ready to kick off like for the next like 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
like getting out there and touring during open houses or during the Parade of Homes, being able to just kind of like learn what's the difference between like a spec build, like what's the difference between a replication spec and a custom build. Knowing what those differences are, and then letting the build team or whatever the representative kind of guide them down that path in the process. But like
Yeah.
also like genuinely recognizing that those on-site sales representatives are 100% your best friend throughout that new build process.
I
Um,
mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people, a lot of agents that are outside of the new home construction process hate the builders because they've all had the experience where one of their clients went there directly without them, and that builder said, "Nope, screw you. We're not going to pay you commission because your clients came here without being represented by you, and they signed up, and so we're not going to offer you any commission." So we've had this negative, you know, uh, experience with. I mean, at least I have
100%.
several
Like
times.
agents, like the hard piece about like the hard relationship between like builders and agents, and it's really trying to like break down that wall and that, breaking down that gap and bridging that gap. And, again, I register if my buyers are going out, I 100% register my buyer. I will send a message, even if I don't know if they're going to go out. Hey, they're exploring new homes. Like, I just want to let you know they might be coming out, like being super proactive about that communication. But,
Yeah.
even then just coming in and like asking the right questions of like, what does your process look like? Because every builder is different. Every build team is different. Asking a question of like, how can I best work with you and your team? What are the touch points? What's the preferred communication? What selections can be made, and what does that selections process look like? Because sometimes you're able to pick everything out down to like, practically the nails. And then other times you're offered, would you like package A, B, or C? And you have no
Right.
like options.
Yeah.
Better understanding like estimated timelines, and then even just coming in and like saying like, help me understand, right? The problem is that a lot of times agents come in expecting that contentious like builder buyer agent relationship, instead of coming in from like the collaborative like partnership. And I think that that is one of like the best tips is, coming in and like from that curiosity standpoint. And you know, there's always going to be challenges with builders, and we always have a bad taste in our mouth from that one experience, but kind of coming in from more of like a partnership is one of my best like tips from adding value to that relationship.
I love that. I think it's important to be able to realize that, if you build that relationship, that's going to pay out dividends because it becomes a sphere. And obviously they're in the business, right? So they're going to want to naturally sell their product because they get incentivized by, finishing out or selling out those homes. And so if you can be a resource to be able to do that, they're going to love you.
Yeah.
And it just starts with starting. It just starts with
You
just
have to
doing it.
start somewhere. Yeah. And it's, you
Yeah,
got to add
yeah,
value. And at some point in time, like it's whether you get that, like that one referral from them, or it's, right now, like the wild thing is that a lot of all of my developments are coming from it's coming from builder and developer referrals.
mm,
So like my one development turned into two developments because of
yeah,
one referral from one developer to another.
yeah.
And like
And again,
that
those
is, they've become probably the most impactful piece of my COI.
for sure. And again, those of you guys that work in areas where you don't have smaller developers that you can make those connections, right? Because they've got their whole ecosystem built out already. I think there's still a massive opportunity because they sell a ton. They offer great incentives to sellers right now, or excuse me, to buyers. They're
Yeah.
offering the closing costs. They're offering commissions to some degree. And if they're not, guess what, you guys? With the new buyer broker agreements that you're signing, you're
Mm-hmm.
guaranteeing yourself that you're going to get paid independent of, if that builder, pays a referral or not, or pays a commission or not. And so don't be afraid to be able to go build those relationships. Get a binder. Know every single builder that's in your neighborhood or in
Yes.
the areas in which you service. Know exactly what floor plans they have, know what incentives they have. Go preview those homes, go do videos of those homes, build those relationships with them. And I promise you that if you do that by naturally, being around them, you're going to have exposure to opportunity. You're going to have exposure to make those connections, bringing them the Starbucks coffee, either mugs or treats. A lot of those builders, when they get super busy, they don't even have time to like leave because they can't leave to like go get food. And so if you like bring them a lunch or bring them some type of dessert or a
Yeah.
Cliff
Beer on
Bar or
Friday
some
at 4 or like donuts in the morning. I mean, like they're contractors. They love all of that stuff. And again, at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's about making so I started with making an impact for buyers, and it's kind of led me down a completely different path. And I still love the buyer path too, but like it's that if by coming in and having that thought leadership from buyers, they see you out there on social media, they see your pending sales that are new construction, they see that you are going in and they see that activity, and activity brings activity. So even if you don't have a buyer, but you're coming in and you're showcasing this like great house or this beautiful light fixture or like a really unique component of the home, and like trying to spark that conversation with the people that you're like looking to attract, being consistent with it, like touring a new home one time a week and then pushing out a couple pieces of social content. I promise you, it's like what you focus on, you get more of. And if you have that ability to focus on the new home piece and trying to attract new home buyers, you will absolutely get more and more and more as people see. It's going to like build that pillar within your business if it's not there already.
yeah. And I mean, you guys, at least in the areas that I know, when you go to new construction and they've got models, those models are freaking decked out. They're beautiful. And
They're
especially with
awesome.
the Prada homes right now, you're gonna have lots of content to be able to get some really good pictures and video for, exposing yourself. And I've literally have had people reach out to me saying, "Hey, I saw that you showed that one house on whatever on your social. That's not the house I want, but and that leads to an
Yeah.
opportunity." So absolutely. So let's open up to any questions. Does anybody have a question for Stephanie, about just the building process, or any questions you guys have about, like how to or what to that you want to address? If you want to unmute yourself and share, or if you want to put it on the comments, that's fine too. We'll take a minute or two to be able to do that. And if not, obviously, I always have more questions. So anyone else have any thoughts, questions? people are sleeping.
Chat on question on the chat. I was just wondering if you've been able to I don't know if there's standing inventory in your market, but have you been able to list their standing inventory homes, or how that process may have gone for you if you've been able to?
Yeah. So that's kind of, again, where like the relationship with different builders and developers. So yes, that when they have challenges selling something, who do you think they're going to go to? They're going to go to the person who they believe is going to be the best marketer. And what we all know to be true is that the person closest to the client wins. Okay. And so again, that's like one of those, things of like, if they see me and how I add value or know you as the local expert within that space. Yeah. So one great example is like, it's 45 minutes away from where I live, but there was a builder that had inventory sitting. He had two specific specs. It was in a development where he was able to pick his own representation, and he asked me if I would represent him on those two individual builds, and absolutely was able to like move the needle for him. And funny thing is it started off as help me move this inventory. Well, I sold those two houses for him, and then he started another two, and then I got the opportunity to like list them from the very beginning because of the success that we had had. So that's kind of like building up this capability. That is, it's a really unique option, but as you're growing in this space, like that is the goal of moving from just saying, hey, I'm an expert, I'm working with buyers, but then it's building that relationship. And then how do you turn, like, what's that threshold where you're turning it from I'm bringing you the buyer to like, I'm actually the best person to like represent and market your home.
You guys, at the end of the day, like, again, in some areas where that might not be a possibility to represent any of their standing inventory, they may not have standing inventory just because the market's crazy right now. Like, start with just what Stephanie said, represent the buyer, get buyers, they're buying.
Yep.
Guess what, you guys, if you go to these new constructions, you will know that every single home or every single, development, they're selling houses. Buyers are going there. If you go to preview homes, you'll see that there's always buyers looking through their models. And so they're there. Why not capture them before they even step foot in a model home?
Yeah.
Right?
And here's another piece. If you have a relationship with those like sales, like with the sales reps, like for the builders, if you know them and if you've got a pretty good rapport with them already, or if you have a personal relationship with someone, I would like even just like ask, because if you don't ask, like you'll never like receive. So in your markets, like if you're in a space where it's the national builder situation, I would just say like, hey, I'm curious, but what does this look like? So if you have a buyer that comes in that like isn't interested in this, like what happens to that buyer? Like, would there ever be an opportunity for a partnership where we could collaborate and, where I might be able to like help them? Are you able to accept referral fees? Like, what does that look like in your universe?
And I love that. And here's the thing, like you guys all heard of Gary Vaynerchuk and him, the book Jab, 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 Punch. Like if you go in there for the first time and bring some, a Starbucks gift card or some treat, and then immediately ask for business, like they're going to be turned off by that because they're not going to know who you are. And for the first maybe couple of times, they're going to be standoffish because they're going to look at you as like you're a freaking butthead, or you're this, like they're going to look at you as like competitors or confrontation or whatever, right? So, but if you keep on going, preview property, bring people to their
sell their
models,
homes, like sell their homes. That is like literally the number one way. That is the way to get in the door, is bring an actual real buyer, like bring a person to them. And then you have all of those natural touch points throughout the process, depending on what your market looks like, where you're interacting with them and showing like, it's not just like saying like, oh, I want your business. I want your business. Cause guess what? Just like how we feel about lenders, they always want our business. It's coming in and adding value. It's coming in and bringing something to the table, and then showing them that like, here's how you do real estate differently. It's not just that lip service. It's not like what you were saying where I'm coming in and saying like, hi, I want to work with you, because everyone wants that. But it's like showing them like how you bring an elevated experience. How do you help your buyers with that elevated experience? How do you talk about the process with your buyers and your clients? And then like they love it when you bring them sales. Like they love it when you bring them opportunities.
100%. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for all
Yeah.
of your contribution today. And hopefully you guys found value in this. Hopefully you guys got motivated to be able to do something with new builders. I'm going to show you this picture. I'm sure all of you guys have seen this before, but I wanted to hopefully sink in a little bit more, because what I see a lot, I've done this myself, and I see this a lot in our real estate space, is that we do something. We might be gung-ho about it. We might do it for a couple of days or maybe a week, and then we get discouraged, and then we stop, we quit. Take a look at this photo here. This happens all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like if you are gung-ho like the guy on the top, just, crushing it, just doing all the things, because unlike a salaried or an hourly employee where you do work and get paid, you do X amount of work, you're going to get paid. And real estate doesn't work that way, right? We take that risk. You have to put in the effort initially, and then sometimes you put in a ton of effort and you get no response, you get no results, and it gets discouraging, gets frustrating, gets stressful. But those that quit early, like the guy in the bottom, is going to miss out on all the gold, is going to miss out on all the diamonds. And so I invite you guys, no matter what it is, wherever the lead pillar is that you are working, do not give up. You might have to change your strategy. You might have to change and make small tweaks, but there is gold or diamonds, however you want to look at it, in every single lead pillar that's out there. And you will always find agents that crush it in those environments. And I love Stephanie for crushing it in the new home space and having her talk to us today, because it's all about saying, okay, there's all these different things you can do as an agent, right? There's so many lead pillars. And I love how she mentioned that those new sales reps, the new builders, are her sphere, right? That's one pillar of her sphere that she connects with. I never thought of it that way before, which is genius and perfect. And so don't be discouraged. And if you want to add new construction as one of your lead pillars, don't half-ass it either, right? Like put in the energy, be very strategic on what things you're going to do, how much time you're going to allocate to it, and then go out and be consistent with it. Because if you do, inevitably and eventually it'll pay off. Stephanie, thank you so much for being in our master class today. And if you have any other questions, please follow her on Instagram. And obviously I'm sure she'll be able to answer any additional questions you guys have, tag her on there and so forth.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. You guys have an amazing week. We'll talk to you guys next Thursday.
See
Bye.
ya.